like to welcome you to BOI Meets Wellness, a podcast that discusses the complexities, celebrations, and challenges of building a wellness ritual as a BOI, a person who is born obviously incredible. You are now listening to BOI Meets Wellness with poet, motivational speaker, and wellness lover, Benton.
BOI, born obviously incredible, especially when you wear it pretty.
Happy Friday, BOI Meets Wellness community. If you are feeling the podcast, it would be amazing if you could head over to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with your community. We're currently at about 500 downloads a month, and we love to get our message out farther. Our goal is 1,000 downloads by the end of 2020. Please support us. If you'd like to share your incredible journey on the show, just head over to boymeetswellness.com and complete our BOI Meets Wellness interview application. We are always interested in exploring the stories of incredible people. Today's episode features my fam, Nalo. Nalo is a Black queer writer, organizer, and trans-masculinist who pushes at the normative boundaries of gender and sexuality in Black experiences. Nalo is the founder and creative director of BlackGirlMasculine, a nonprofit organization and media space for queer Black masculine identified women, trans, and non-binary people. Founded in 2016, the organization serves a global audience with a mission to expand and archive non-normative masculine experiences. Born in Maryland and raised between New York and D.C., Nalo is currently completing a degree in Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies at Louisiana State University and is a 2019 TedxLSU speaker. Nalo has dedicated their life to starting conversations that shift how we see the world and everyone in it, while creating visibility and healing for queer Black experiences along the way. Before we jump into this amazing conversation with Nalo, let's just talk about our wellness tip for the week. Use technology to connect and not just to be productive. I understand many of us, especially in California, are being told to continue to be in this safer at home order, which makes it really hard to hold physical space with friends and family. While it is a limitation, there's so much innovation in our technology. So I ask you to take time today, this week, or this month to use the power of technology to connect with your friends, family, and loved ones. Staying connected to community is so important in these times of uncertainty, and we just need each other. So my wellness tip for you is use your technology to connect and not just to be productive. Today's episode is brought to you by Mar Media Productions. Mar Media is a media production company that produces, publishes, and uplifts the stories, art, and journeys of queer and trans people of color and the people who make our lives incredible. Now for our episode with Nalo. Hello, world. Welcome to BOI Meets Wellness. Super pumped about today's interview with Nalo. Nalo, thank you for coming through to BOI Meets Wellness and happy birthday. Had to put that out there that we recording this on your good birthday, so I gave it a little happy birthday to you.
Hey.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. So you gotta give it from the Black hand side all day.
Right.
All day.
You know it's love when your fam's singing to you too. That's a whole nother level of love right there. Thank you so much.
You know it. So just embrace us with your full name, pronoun, and what brings you joy.
My name is Nalo Zidan. I use all pronouns, and what brings me joy is love and community. I think that's first and foremost for me and foundational for me in my personal and more political career-based life is that love and community is what sustains me. It's what fights for me. It's what continues to show up in my life as most powerful. So, yeah.
Beautiful. And you give so much love to the community. That's one of the things I really appreciate about you. So can you tell our audience and me, where did you grow up? Where do you live now in retrospect to that?
Yeah, so I was born in Maryland, Prince George's County Hospital. You feel me? DMV, baby. I was raised between New York and D.C., actually. So I got roots in both and was raised in both. Currently, I'm based in Detroit, literally as of yesterday. So it's a lot of new changes happening. I'm really grateful for Detroit as a place that made me fall in love with it. Also love DC. I love New York, and those will always be on my back for sure. but I'm excited to continue growing in love and staying focused on how to continue to show up in these places and allow what I've learned from the DMV and from New York and to bring it to DC and to be able to be in a new place where I'll learn from it too. Obviously, I won't be doing too much connecting because of COVID, but I look forward to all of the ways that we'll be able to create those connections digitally as well. So yeah, that's a
That's
little bit
hella
about how
dope.
it shaped me.
That's
Yeah.
hella dope. Congrats on your move. And, I know that probably moving through all of this, right? Like with we spoke about this a little bit offline, but what happened in politically, the way that like spirit is transitioning so many of our ancestors, right? And
Yeah.
then even COVID-19. So like what has been your experience the last few months with COVID-19, and what are some wellness practices that maybe you're utilizing to keep yourself uplifted?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking. For me, it's been a lot of change and a lot of opening, like the pandemic itself has been such a shift in how I'm able to be with myself by myself and being in close proximity to the people I love for long periods of time. And all those things present their own challenges, because I deeply believe that space breeds more love and time to ourselves. But it's also like been hard because we crave and need those connections. So it's been like, for me, it's been really a time that's been introspective. It's been a time that I've been creating, and I've been able to get to know myself better, whether it be some of the things that I want to continue evolving in, things that probably need more improvement about myself. And also, I've been able to sit with my ideas a little more intentionally because the outside world, at least for me, has been shut down for the most part. I'm grateful now to be finishing my last semester at LSU and just like being able to, just be on some new horizons. So essentially for me, COVID has been like a much needed sit down to be like, listen, let's talk about, the things you need. Let's talk about where you're lacking and where you feel full, excuse me, and let's come together and actually like figure out what's the best way to take care of ourselves in this time. I'm so thankful for my partner in that way. She has been such powerfully sustaining abundance of joy and pleasure and ease for me during this time. And I feel like we both have just like helped sustain one another in those ways. So just during this time, it's been a lot of creativity, a lot of really intentional care and introspective work. And you know what I'm saying? And learning to adapt. As I noticed a lot of our communities even doing that, like we have figured out how to share space digitally. Zoom is everybody's best friend once upon a time. So I'm really grateful for this time because it's opened up so much else. And as much as I'm also hoping to be able to connect in person safely with some of the people I care about, I also am just really grateful for this time.
That is super beautiful that, you've been able to like take the time to really do some like deep introspection. And I love the way that you phrased it, around, where are some of the gaps and how do I fulfill those with what I have, like really
Yeah,
that resilience, that innovation. And, I'm so thankful for technology. I was already kind of like doing media from Zoom. So I
right,
kind of
right.
felt like I was like, yeah, I kind of
You're
got something I
winning.
could teach people though too.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? Like help people and let people know
Absolutely.
like it is possible to still build connection in this box, but it's different and you can't emulate life, which I think is what's beautiful. We long for that in-person connection because no matter
Absolutely.
how far technology goes, you can't emulate spirit, right? Like you just can't. You can't make it
Yeah.
happen.
And I think it's really beautiful to know that like it is possible in the midst of such tragedy because like everything that we've been going through in the world, in our personal lives, etc. I feel like we still have learned, all of us in some way, how to create pleasure with just what we have. You know what I'm saying? Because we couldn't reach for anything else. So that's one of the things I take really like I really take in an abundant way is this idea that like how can I shape pleasure, create satisfaction for myself in the midst of so much chaos? So that's definitely a really powerful thing for this season.
Ashe, call that in. All the pleasure, all the love, with all you need, and that you have all that you need right now to do it, right? Like, I
That's
love
right.
that.
That's
I
right.
love that. So I know you mentioned your partner, but who are other people in your life who make your life incredible? If you had a gratitude list, who would be the folks who would be on there? Maybe your top two.
My top two, and you want me to say it aside from my partner?
I mean, if it's your partner too, then maybe your top three.
Okay. Yeah, so definitely number one would be my partner, and not in the cliche way. Like she is incredible, like in every definition of the word. And then I would say it's so many people to choose from that I'm like, I might be present and even say Stud Slayer, Kai Brown, who has been just phenomenal in encouraging me, checking on me, been such a source of joy. I just recorded a documentary with them, and it's like they've just been such a force of good energy in my life right now. So definitely going to shout out Kai Brown. Most of y'all know him as the Stud Slayer. And other than that, I'm going to go ahead and be extra, but I'm going to say it's a tie between my godchild, Evelyn, who most people will see on my social media, and my little baby turtle, Nalito. Yes, little Nalo. That's what their name is. And they have been like such an overproduction of joy. I don't think I would have even survived this season without them both just like being and emanating such a natural, organic source of light in my life right now. So definitely them.
I love that you have a turtle. It's one
Yeah.
of my favorite things about you. As a young person, I had two turtles, and I think I named them after the Ninja Turtles. But I just remember just like sitting there watching them, in their arena, really
Mm-hmm.
enjoying some of the slowness of the
Yeah.
moment. And now that I think back to it, I'm like, maybe I was like, into a little mindfulness even as a young person, because they just have a
Definitely.
particularly spiritual and ancestral energy. I feel like turtles do. So
Absolutely. Definitely for me too. And I think turtles teach I feel like turtles are my spirit animal, and they teach patience, they teach you to slow down, they teach you the adaptation, and home is already wherever you are. And those are the things that I needed for my life. So definitely I love anything turtle.
So I know that many folks are probably listening to this because they have seen your journey, Black Girl Masculine, and
Hmm.
it's been it's been phenomenal to see that as well. So can you tell us a little bit of like, where did this start? Like, where did your love for this work start, and how did you decide that you wanted to start this particular like blog for the world?
Hmm. That's a great question. So Black Girl Masculine started in 2016, and it wasn't in a combative response to, but it was with a response and representation of masculine Black girls, women, non-binary, trans people, because I was seeing Black Girl Magic booming as a movement, as a space for Black girls and women to go and be empowered and be seen and feel heard. And I hadn't like as I'm being with celebrating how magical and beautiful that is, I just wasn't seeing my kind of womanhood, being shown through Black Girl Magic. I was like, what I'm saying, where's the Black masculine queer, what I'm saying? And it didn't make me want to be combative of Black Girl Magic as a movement, because that's still so necessary. And I want the people who do directly benefit from how they produce media, how they, brought forth, activism, things like that, to still be seen and heard in that space. So I wasn't coming up against the grain of that, but it did make me want to respond with in a more nuanced way, by creating this platform. And thus Black Girl Masculine was born. It made me like really feel good to see that Black Girl Masculine could be a space where, family was created, and Black Girl Masculine was a space where we could show up in community for one another about experiences that didn't exactly overlap with cishet woman experiences, but that did have overlap for us to talk about, and for us to show the world how we show up in the world, how we do things, what our love stories look like, how we separate in our, combating this idea that we're all naturally immersed in toxic masculinity if we're masculine. So a lot of that was like kind of the stewing that happened that kind of made me become more curious and ask more questions with regards to masculinity and non-normativity. So when I created it, at first, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just know that
That's most
you
of
know
us,
what I'm saying?
right?
You feel me? And I had and you know what? That was pivotal for me because that let me know for sure that like anything you desire to do, you really just have to freaking do it and figure it out along the way. Cause like I couldn't have told you that now we have a global network and like that so many people want to be a part of this that I wouldn't have believed you if you told me this back in 2016, 2017. So, you know, I went ahead and did everything necessary to build this kind of platform for people to come together and to be a community with people who look like them and who experience a lot of the overlap we did, and to also be in conversation about stuff that's toxic about our own community. So, you know, it's been a journey and I'm still learning, still, you know, trying to figure it out. But that dream stirred up the curiosity in me to want to be a trans-masculinist, and which is someone who supports and creates and establishes that non-normativity in Black masculinities. And that kind of like, you know, set the tone for it and was the catalyst for me wanting to do this work more intentionally. So Black Girl Masculine kind of birthed me in a new way, you know, like from changing my name from Tia to Nalo and having agency over my body and knowing that I am an experience of multiple identities and that I don't have to be limited to what category the world put me in or what category queer people want me to be in based on my aesthetic. It's like, no, it's about being agentic and being able to create the person that sustains you and that you feel good being, because none of us really know until we know, you know.
That is so powerful. I know that folks are gonna hear this and be like, "What? Like that person didn't know what they was doing, right?" Like I think that people externally sometimes see the success of platforms and just think like people just automatically had it together, right? And I always say Nike, you know, that they have one of the best slogans to just do it, because so many things that I have put on the back burner once I stepped into the arena and just did it, like it,
Yeah.
you know, like it was like, yeah, it wasn't easy, but I just had to learn, right? And as you learn, you get better with time. So thank you so much for your vulnerability and being willing to be real about that. What I've really
Word.
appreciated about that platform is like these conversations you've been having, especially like recently
Mm-hmm.
you did that series on Instagram, and I can't remember the name.
Reimagine it. Yeah, it's
Reimagining.
reimagining Black masculine futures. Yeah.
Yeah. So what came out of, I didn't get to like witness every conversation, but what are some of the themes that you think came out of that conversation? And what advice would you give to folks who are doing some healing work around their masculinity?
You know, that's such a great and powerful question. I think as far as I'll start with the healing piece, as far as healing around our masculinities, it's it's such a hard thing when it's being pushed on you and trying to be taken away from you at the same time. It's like men are like, nah, this ain't yours. And then, you know, if we're loving one another, for example, masculine person and masculine person, then you got queer masculine people telling us that we're not masculine enough, or reducing us, or whatever the case is. Or, you know, the culture of our masculinity is not actually being archived. So most of them are only and often compared to that of men, and masculinities that and cultures of manhood that aren't, they don't have to be accountable themselves because we're so focused on like how it is the only valid masculinity, so let's compare everything to it. So I would say, like, as we're learning what our masculinities are, know that your masculinity is authentic because nobody had to teach it to you. Nobody had to come and give you a course on this. Nobody had to like tell you was right or wrong about how you was doing masculinity or being masculine or any of it. It's like masculinity can be the experience of something you do, you have, and you are, but it's not something anyone can ever take from you. So as you're healing your masculinity, I think it's making sure that you're being introspective about how you contribute to masculinity as a culture and how you are continuing to be accountable in that masculinity. Like as we did this series, we were shaping what accountable masculinities look like because the only ones being mainstream male masculinities meant that we had everything that was attached to male masculinities, i.e. that toxic masculinity culture, all these things, we then were getting kind of that backlash and also learning some of those overlapping harmful behaviors that didn't always align with who we actually are. It just so happened to align with the masculinity that was valid in the world. So those performances produce themselves. But for me, I want people to know that like your masculinity is something to be archived. It's tangible. It's alive. And you don't have to emulate or go anywhere for it. It's like it's producing itself in you, just like we assume it's produced in little boys, just like we assume it constantly is produced in growing men or, you know, any of those identities. So it's like we ain't trying to take it from men. We're trying to open up the scope of how we see masculinities to be with non-normativity in a way that's much more powerful and inclusive, because obviously, you know what I'm saying, somebody got it wrong when they said that this only belongs to men, or that these clothes only belong to men, or that these behaviors or whatever they are belong to men. So I really want people to just be intentional about archiving and experiencing the authenticity in their own experience of masculinity rather than seeking it out somewhere. That's the advice I would give about healing it, because you're not a thing to be healed inherently because you're masculine, but the masculinity that you'll be exposed to will need to actually be mindful of some of the patterns that come along with that, because men who hold a particular kind of power in the world need to, they haven't had to, but need to be mindful of the behaviors and patterns that come along with it that are toxic to people like women and trans people and non-binary people, all these things. So it's being mindful not to get sucked into maleness while you're also exploring archiving your own masculinity, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. I love your framework on this, and I think that is something that can be really accessible to folks who are still, you know, who are just exploring this. Like I remember being
Mm-hmm.
a younger, masculine-centered person, and you know, all of the information that I learned was based off what I seen. Like you're kind of like what you're speaking, and then being told that everything that I had learned was wrong, right, and toxic. So
Mm-hmm.
really having to understand the celebration and the love of the journey of the learning, and that sometimes is more fruitful than even the destination of where people want you to get or where you're expected to get, whether that's
That's right.
aesthetically, performatively, or whatever separates you from spirit and being truly who you are. So
That's right.
I love it. I love it so much. And I could probably talk to you for a whole hour about that.
Right, right.
Because that's just I think that's one of my favorite parts of your work, right? Is that you really push people to step out of what is expected, right? Like, and expect
Mm-hmm.
what you need for yourself, and even this notion of pleasure. So just thank you for being who you are, and thank you for being born. We
Appreciate
appreciate you.
that.
So, you know, when I met you, I think it was last summer, maybe the summer before, I was
Something
really,
before.
yeah, the summer before, I was like, this person is popping. Look at this fashion. Look at the way they are put together. Yes, yes, right. And we had that moment, right? Like some, you know, when
We
boys get
did.
together, that's what we do. Oh, look at those shoes. Where you get that tie from? Like, you know, it's a
That's
part of the
right.
spirit of the moment. So I
Mm-hmm.
was not surprised when I seen you come up with the fashion brand, right? I was not surprised. I was actually like, I felt like were already birthing it and manifesting it, you know. So tell us a little bit about, and I don't want to mispronounce it. Is it Yazi? Is that
It
how you
is
say it?
Yazi.
Yazi,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've been saying it right. Cool, cool. You know, you
That's
see the
right.
word, but you don't hear it. So it's like, wait,
That's
how do
right.
I say
That's
that?
right.
Tell us
No,
about
you
it
got
and
it.
what inspired it.
Thank you for asking. So Yazi was inspired by initially this idea that like clothing doesn't need to be gendered. And you know, like we all know this, but it's like in practice is not out here like we need it to be. So like I thought to myself, I was sitting down and bored with COVID stuff, and I just started designing clothes randomly. Like I was like, I'm gonna design some clothes that fit my body well, so I don't gotta keep dealing with these weird sizing charts from all these different companies. And having to go to the men's section just always got on my nerves. You know what I'm saying? It kind of like it got on my nerves, but it also was like a thing I knew I had to do because that's by majority where I found a lot of the clothes I liked, even though there was some stuff, crop tops, things like that I would find in quote unquote women's sections that really did still pull on me. But it was this idea that clothing didn't need to be gendered, and that regardless, we're rebelling against the system of gender anyway, because I ain't never seen a woman who liked a sweatshirt in the men's section, or a man who liked some jeans in the women's section that didn't go get them jeans. You know what I'm saying? Or that shirt. So it made sense to me that we would already do it. And I've seen a lot of brands come out, Stuzo, all these different brands that were doing more unisex things and all of that. And for me, that was such a powerful thing. It was beautiful. And I love seeing a lot of these brands come out, Zoro Chunu, even the brand that Unorthodox spelled backwards. It just, all of these brands were just doing so much. And so I sat down and I kind of tried my hand at designing some real dope, like sweatshirts and stuff like that. I was like, I'm gonna make this for myself. And I even found a vendor that was like, send me some samples. And when I posted them online, people was like, I'll pay you right now for that sweatshirt. Like, how much for, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, oh, shoot. Like, I didn't expect this to get so much attention. And then I just ran with it from there. I started designing. I designed a tracksuit down to the fabric and the accents and the colors and my logo, everything. Found a dope Detroit-based artist named Venus, who is exceptional, to make my logo that was actually using my turtle as the logo as well. And Yazi is what I hope to, my future child, that's the name that they gave me to name them. So Yazi is my future child's name. And I used it with this clothing line as well, as like a powerful merging of all the things I love and care about. And so, here we are, like we just got a whole like wave of inventory in, got so much attention and love from community, so many pre-orders to package up and everything. Literally what I'm gonna be doing right after I jump off this call. And it's just been exploding. Like, that website is actually opening today for people to go shop. And it just has been crazy because I didn't think that I'd get the response to something I designed. Like, I was on Adobe for hours. I was on Adobe for hours learning how to use Adobe Illustrator and all these other things to have the tools I needed to create these clothing or play with logos or whatever. And now that I know how to, I didn't think that I'd get this response. So overall, Yazi is just this kind of rebellious framework against gender to be more open to bodies. Like, I want clothing that focuses more on tall, short, thick, slim, those types of things rather than male, female, because, clothing don't really need that. You feel me?
I love it. I love it. And it's some bomb stuff, y'all. Like, if y'all get a chance, please check it out. I know I'll be in one of those little windbreakers you came up with. I already got the stuff that I want on the list. Because I know a lot of y'all been looking at them Fenty boxers, but nah, get over here. No diss to Rihanna.
You can get you a $50 too, but come see us. I'm at YAZ Clothing on Instagram, YAZI Clothing on Instagram. So check us out. Let me know what y'all think. I'm always open to feedback, and this is a feedback-based thing. Like, even the money I make from this, there will always be a percentage that goes back into communities and redistributing resources and all those things. So this is a way that I want to be able to show up for community as a Black-owned, queer-owned business, but also one that does, put those resources back into our communities. Like, that's what I want ultimately.
So as an entrepreneur, as a leader, what do you say are some of the like challenges and some of the celebrations of being a leader?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think some of the challenges of being a leader is knowing you're a leader when they calling you that. Like, for me, I'm like, when people started using that language to describe me, or, I was being put to the forefront of certain conversations or wanting me to contribute in certain ways, all of those things came with a lot of responsibility. And initially I was like, I ain't ask y'all to be pulling on me with this weight of, you should know the answer to this, this, and that. But then, I sat down with some community of mine, and they was like, we all have different skills. We all have different ways that we see the world, but like, we need, like, some of the ways that we don't understand this, you have the language to communicate it. And we might have the the know-how to shape this kind of thing or digital space or whatever. So let's all come together and figure this thing out. And for me, it was like the things that people were seeing me, the lens people were seeing me through, was like some of it was me being fearful was a challenge, because I'm like, I know that I don't want to let people down. I know I care about what people think of me. And I had to, come to terms with the fact that that's just who I am. I do care about what people think of me. I'm not one of those people that's like, I don't really give a fuck about what you say. Excuse my language. I don't really care about what you say or what you think, but I'm gonna do my own thing and whatever. It's like, nah, I'm community based. So I do care about what my community thinks of me. I care about how we show up in love for and with one another. And you labeling me as a leader means that I am now responsible in some way for you and with you. You know what I'm saying? That's what activism, family, and community even means to me, is that I know that if I'm being called to lead or to be a community responder in some way, or to be a creative in my community in some way, then I have to know and learn and adjust to all the ways that I'm responsible for your life. You know what I'm saying? I'm responsible for the way I shape culture in Black masculinities, in queer communities. So some of the challenges of being a leader, I think, come with this idea that you are responsible and have to take a certain amount of responsibility when you are doing anything in community. So I think that's the hard part, just the fear in that, like making sure you do it right and that you're showing up for your people in ways that are in right relationship with, what we're fighting for and what we need to show up as to sustain the strength in our communities. So yeah, and also some of the ways that it benefits me, I do love to be in community. I love conferences. I love, speaking. I love to show up and be in space where we're having conversations about complexity. All of that matters to me so much. So it's been such a powerful, such a sweet time in my life to have those worlds kind of overlap, and that I do have a framework that's rooted in the fact that I feel responsible for my community. And that I know that the universe has blessed me with the capacity to be able to answer hard questions. I'm not the type of person, and this is okay for the people that use it in this way, but I'm like, I'm the type of person that is, I'm not okay with not answering your questions. You know what I'm saying? I don't need, if I'm at capacity and I can't take on something at a certain time, I'm cool with that. But I'm not going to turn you away. You know what I'm saying? If you ask me a question about myself or my personhood or queerness, all these things, like, I don't want them to be a taboo to you. I think what saves my life is that I do have this space that wants to answer, that wants you to see me as a human being. So all the ways that connection and responsibility and love and community merge together, that's what leadership looks like to me. It's making sure that we're taking on being in right relationship to one another and ourselves simultaneously.
And you are a phenomenal leader, fam. I appreciate the way that you show up in conversation. I appreciate the way that you call folks in, I'm sure. And I appreciate that you're able to be called in. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's a part of it too, in what you're talking about, but
which has been a learning process, I admit, because the one thing I want to be, yeah, and one of the things I want to be mindful of, even in saying that, is that as a human being, as someone who's very passionate, as someone who, does find myself in conversations with people who are not yet seeing the same things the same ways that I am or whatever, it took me a while to be able to hear about myself, or it took me a while to be able to feel like anybody could come and tell me, what you said, may have made me feel uncomfortable or whatever, because I'm a very direct person. So I don't often find myself in spaces where I'm trying to be as politically correct as possible. I'm like, no, what is the conversation we need to be having? What is, like, how we need to navigate having this conversation with complexity and nuance engaged? And so, I'm learning and evolving in that, I know that that's still, even today, something that I'm trying to make sure that I'm in right relationship to. And that's just making sure that I'm here to listen as well with and for my community's voice, whatever they have for me, because I do care about I do care, as I said before, I care about what they think of me and how we are in community together with one another.
So let's do some manifesting before we step into our last segment of the show. Where do you see
Yeah.
yourself in 5 years? Let's call it in.
Oh, in 5 years, you feel me? I'm trying to be a homeowner. I want my baby to be here. So I do want to be a parent. I want to be seeing abundance of success for all of my businesses. In 5 years, I want to be able to say that I'm tangibly satisfied with my career life. I want to say that I'm finished with my PhD. And I want to say that like I'm satisfied with the way that my life is going in general. So even if those physical tangible things don't come through, it's like I really just I want to manifest that I am deeply grateful and full and whole in who I am and the things that I create. You know, against fear, against worry, against I don't know what I'm doing, against all of those things. I want to say that like in 5 years' time, that all those things rest and I feel solid in what I create, who I am, and what I believe in. So those are the big things for me.
Ashe, Ashe, I call that in
Ashe.
with
That's right.
full abundance,
That's right.
with no delay, no denial,
Hmm.
right, and no
Ancestors
doubtfulness.
heard. Ancestors heard. Ashe. Thank you.
So how can folks follow you personally, Instagram, website? How can folks, if folks want to bring you out to their campus or institution to talk, how do they find your information?
So I can be reached via Instagram at Nalo Darling, Nalo Darling, Darling, or and my site is actually being built, nalozidan.com. That is being built currently. So that will be maybe in about 2 or 3 months that'll be finished. It's hard to get headshots and all the work done that I need done for the site, but you can mostly reach me via email, Nalo, Nalo, at BlackGirlMasculine.com, spelled out. Again, that's Nalo, Nalo, at BlackGirlMasculine.com. For any of those types of inquiries, you can DM me on any social media, King Nalo Darling on Twitter. And I look forward to connecting with anybody for sure.
Dope. So let's jump into Boy Talk and Hop, which is our last segment. It's just like our fill in the blank, kind of see where your mind is today. So I'll give
Okay.
you a statement and you just fill in the blank for us.
Word.
So the first one is money is.
A headache. It's a headache. Money is a headache. And also in the world that we live in, you know, I know how money is valuable also, and how money is, what sustains us getting access to the things we need. So as much as I can't stand money, I love money. And I want to be able to make as much as I can while also being in the right relationship with my community.
My favorite book is.
Ooh, I'm going to say, dang, that's hard. I'm going to say The Bluest Eye, Toni Morrison.
Yes, bringing Auntie Tony in the building.
That's
I
my
appreciate
favorite
that.
author. Yeah, favorite author.
My favorite food is.
Potatoes. Straight like that. Roast me some potatoes, fry them up, bake them up. Just let me get some potatoes.
Wellness is.
Wellness is an abundance of self-care and boundaries. And I mean boundaries as the distance with which I can love me and you simultaneously. And that statement came from Prentice Hemphill, a good friend of mine. But yeah, wellness is taking care of yourself and holding boundaries for yourself simultaneously.
If I could speak to anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and what would y'all do?
Man, it'd be Toni Morrison. Hands down, it'd be Toni Morrison. And what we would do, I just want to sit with her. I just want to sit with her and talk with her. And I want to have her, like, I want to hug her and like read with her. I want to have her voice reading her own stories. I want to sit outside on the water on the dock where she shot that documentary about her life. And I just want to talk to her. Like, I want to know what life has been like for her without the kind of admiring gaze of the external sources that have documented her life or her work. Like, I want to hear it from her mouth.
Pleasure is.
Ooh, Pleasure is sustaining joy, ease, and right relationship. That's what pleasure is to me.
Ownership is?
That's a good one. Ownership is this idea that something belongs to you and no one else. But I don't know if that actually is true about everything. So I don't know if we get to own anything but ourselves. And yeah, that's kind of, so I have a finicky relationship with the language of owner.
I agree with you. We could talk about that offline. I was like, I got more, but I ain't even gonna go there.
Right,
we can talk about that offline. These are the last two. Music is
life sustaining. Oh man, I don't know who I would be or what I would be if it had not been for music. Every kind of music, you know what I'm saying? My favorite kind of music is probably movie scores and orchestra music and gospel, and you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But music for me is this really life-sustaining force that produces everything that I need in my life, like joy, accountability, right relationship. Music reflects the stories that are necessary for me to continue being who I am.
And last but never least, Nalo is?
Nalo is a queer Black adventurer, a multi-identity person, a writer, a lover, an empath, deeply empathic and sensitive. Nalo is fearless and fearful sometimes. And Nalo is in love with community and babies and turtles and and mostly Nalo is this very complex, mysterious evolution of life and being.
Beautiful, fam. Thank you so much for being here, for showing up, for embracing our community with so much of your depth and knowledge, and, and for giving us something to really sit with and heal with. I think the work that you're doing is powerful, and it's legacy work. I see the work you're doing. You're planting seeds and leaving information for people that will change their lives. So I appreciate you. I'm so thankful to be on the planet at the same time as you and to be on this journey with you.
Word. Thank you so much, fam. And I feel the exact same. Like, I love you for sure. I'm so thankful that we can be boys in community. And I'm really just overly grateful for what you're creating too. Like, I love that our worlds came together. So thank you for having me. My name is Nalo Z, and I was born, obviously, incredible.
Thanks for listening to BOI Meets Wellness. Stay connected on and off the show by following us online at BOI Meets Wellness. That's boy with an I. Until next time, go be incredible.